Okay. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rachel Mentorship Podcast. Happy Easter to all of those who celebrate. So today we're sitting down with someone who has genuinely shaped what the animation and visual effects space looks like in Nigeria. We're joined with Michael Oboh. He's the creative director at OrangeVFX. And if you've seen any animated campaigns from brands like Indomie, Chiveta, DSTV, or UNICEF, chances are his team had a hand in it. Orange VFX isn't just a production studio, they are known for delivering high quality animation and visual effects tailored for African audiences and businesses. But beyond the work, they are also building talent. So through their in-house training school, they are helping people learn everything from 3D character animation to shading and visual storytelling. Michael has been at the center of all this managing creative direction, building teams, and making sure that African stories are told with clarity and craft. We're excited to talk to him about his journey today, about his creative process, and what it takes to sustain a studio like that in today's industry, especially in Africa. Michael Obo, you're welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Shafalabi.
How is you already? I hope you're having a good day. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm having a pretty good day.
Mm,
Very nice weather at the start, but now it's very foggy. So here in Helsinki, but yeah, I'm having a good time so far. Thank
okay, that's good to hear. So, what has been keeping you busy lately, like in terms of work and your career? What projects have you been working on recently?
you. Lately, I've been working on a personal project as part of my study. So it's a animated short film that's 4 to 5 minutes long.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's been on my mind lately.
How long has that taken you? Because I know that when I speak to people who say they've worked on short films that are like 4 to 5 minutes long, I hear that months and months have gone into 4 to 5 minutes of work.
It's taken me in itself. It's taken maybe a year, but in
Oh wow,
total, 2 years to get to this point.
wow.
A lot of updates has happened in the past 6 months that I feel kind of make the project very unique in a way because it's more or less a very accelerated pace in the past 6 months that I've had to take.
Hmm. Okay, interesting, interesting. Okay, so one of the first things I would ask you, and I would just backtrack a bit to the guests that we have had and people that we have brought to the podcast. Many of these guys in animation and design usually have like a formal background in animation, so they have some sort of degree, basic education in animation. But I've heard that your story is a bit different because you do not have your. I think your academic background was not initially in design. What did you study, and how have you found your way from that into animation?
So, animation was introduced to me by my brother when I was like in high school. I think SS3 or probably after my high school, or during the high school then, thereabout. But I didn't go into it until 2017. So before 2017, I studied at University of Port Harcourt. I studied biochemistry there for 5 months, for 5 years. And
Hmm.
that was predominantly the path I was going to take, more in the medical line and all, until I decided at the end of the course that like I'm going to make that big switch. And that's how I jumped.
Oh wow. So what and what did you have to like take courses aside like learning from your papa? What steps did you take in order to transition from that?
I mean,
What kind of
originally,
training did you undergo?
what he did was just show me. He just showed off something. He was showing off to somebody, and then I was fortunately there, looking at him showing off what he was working on. So I would say, in my case, it's very unclear as a path to define that I took this and I did this and I did that. I knew one of the things I needed to do was to be in an animation studio. That was one step I took. And then the next thing I did was I asked what was the hardest thing to learn, and I heard it was character acting. So that was the part I next took. And then eventually I found a flair for cinematography. And then I started following that part a little bit more. So going for shoots, live action. Sometimes it's very funny. Like when I look back, I'm like, oh, I've actually worked on a lot of projects. But when you don't like itemize and reflect often in your animation career, it's very easy to underestimate the work you've put in discussion groups and all meetings. So yeah, those were some of the things that I did that I think brought me thus far. It was one, being in a studio that was kind of a good environment to learn animation. And then two was finding those interests and then learning more about them. One of it was cinematography for me, outside and in addition to animation, which was connected with animation as well.
Interesting, interesting. So I want to ask, for somebody who can give advice to people who are beginning in this industry, what would you advise? Do you think that getting a traditional degree in animation is good enough, or being self-taught and probably learning from an institution that will not provide you with a degree? So maybe like a boot camp or something, or being taught, as opposed to getting a degree in art or in film, in animation. Which would you think is, or would you advise is an easier path to get into a career like yours?
That's actually a very interesting question. Thank you for it. There's so many ways into animation, as there is with every many other things, career paths. So, what my advice would be to anybody who wants to think about animation is, first of all, check out what the purpose is for. So, if the interest is more to be part of the production pipeline, just to fend for your needs, fend for yourself, there's a path for that. But if the interest is more about telling stories, like you want to tell your own stories, so you create your project, either as a personal project or an independent project, or you work with a team of people who are like working on a particular bigger topic, then you find that particular purpose, and then you keep uh, taking every step that would help you get to that path. So it could be, for example, going for a workshop. There's free workshops happening in Nigeria now compared to 10 years ago, or 8 years ago, or 9 years ago when I started. So you could attend those workshops. There's like the other studios in Lagos who are like offering trainings across different regions of Lagos. So and sometimes they do these free trainings and all these kind of things. So those are opportunities, workshops that you can attend to expose you to the animation space that I would advise. But yeah, online is definitely a big thing these days. So YouTube is the most easiest tutorial machine you can find. So YouTube definitely, and then online courses are the easier ways to also access the animation space for whatever purpose you discover. But my biggest advice is find out why. Do you want to just earn money just so you can make money? Just some people, for example, you can do like let's say like you lift log heavy weights in the what do you call it, in the train station, in the airport, and you get the same way too. You can also like just do animation just to get paid, not really because you have a passion for it. So yeah, finding that passion, the reason why is important. If it's just for money, you can definitely find yourself in it. But also too, if it's because you want to tell stories, then that purpose will help you now follow on with every opportunity that presents itself, whether it's in form of trainings, workshop that will expose you more to people, to networks, and to resources, tools, and knowledge that will help you achieve the dream.
That's very interesting. So I'm gonna ask as regards like furthering your education, because I know and I've heard that you're currently um taking your masters, right, in, or you have taken your masters in animation abroad, right? How do people get global opportunities like this, especially for people in Nigeria who global opportunities can often feel out of reach for these guys? How do you secure opportunities like this, and how do you also position yourself to be able to find those opportunities and to be able to be ready for those opportunities when they come?
The biggest advice I have in terms of finding international opportunities for pursuing a furthering your animation path or career is network. Keeping also it's frozen a little, but I hope you can hear me. But I'll continue. So keeping your
Yes,
network
I can hear you. I can
Yeah,
hear you.
keeping your network strong is extremely important when you come into animation. I'm sure it's pretty much the same with every other field, but I'm speaking from my experience. Everybody I've known that actually went abroad to study always had some kind of other person who had already gone abroad to study that, or somebody like that, that kind of prompted them, helped them through. So if you're finding like international placements, your network is key. Next is also prepare yourself for the opportunity. One of the things I knew I was doing before I got the opportunity to further study animation here in Europe was engage as much as I could in everything animation, as as I could find. So if it was a event, workshop, seminar, or something, or maybe like a project, and everybody was running away from the difficult task, whether it was like modeling or I don't know what it is, but let's say editing or something. I would always give it a shot. Just not because like I was going to get it perfectly at the end of the day, but just to kind of spot, to kind of tailor my personality and find out what were my sweet spots in animation, like what were those key areas that if I do it, I'm going to stand out definitely in this circle, studio circle, or like in this locality or in this area. So finding out those things over time by volunteering, like volunteering yourself to work, to do different projects. Sometimes maybe not even getting paid for it or not getting recognition or whatever is necessary because that then now helps you define who you are as an animator. There's animators that are like more into modeling, and there's animators that are into character acting, and there's animators that are into like editing visual effects, putting in visual effects. So you will never know until you try and find out which one is really for you and for your personality. So when you find that out, then you can build yourself around more around that area, so that when you are applying internationally, or like you're looking to further or register for an online study or something, perhaps it's you are coming in with your strongest belt. Yeah, you coming with your strongest tools belt. So, you are not. It's not questionable because when you go international, you are not competing anymore with just people like from your locality. You are talking to people from all around the world, and everybody is more or less very skilled in their areas. So you have to also have the thing is you must have one form of value that somebody can remember you for. So if you are in animation, let there be one thing somebody can remember you for that. Okay, I know this guy is good in this area. Yes, he does every other thing. He can fill in other gaps. But in this area he's really, really, really strong and I can vouch for him. So every other thing is more or less complementary. So it's kind of like that rule of one thing, and then you build around that. So that's a very important advice I have to anybody who wants to come into animation, particularly pursue international career with animation. Find your one thing by testing different things at the start, and then focus on that one thing. Eventually, you build a portfolio or a trustworthy portfolio that is unquestionable, that's obviously that you can now put forth with the help of those networks that you've built and people that can tell you information and all these kind of things. You can now present it in international floor and find your place in those tables.
I think you've said a lot of things that I like are very, very useful, and I am even taking note of those things. And I would ask you about Orange VFX now. Uh, Anybody who has seen the work that Orange VFX does knows that it's not just about the content and the services that you offer in terms of like businesses and organizations. It's also about training and mentorship, right? And I'll get to the training and mentorship. But first, I would like to talk about the work you do at Orange VFX in terms of businesses and organizations. How can somebody in Nigeria build something so um, from here, from where we are, where we feel like there are no opportunities, but land big businesses, land big organizations. How do you, as an organization, position yourself for that?
Can you repeat the question again?
Okay, so I was asking about the work you do at Orange VFX. We're going to talk about training and mentorship, but I just wanted to understand how you are able to land businesses and organizations that you work for, the services that you offer to. I've seen like big adverts for DSTV. I've seen the work that you've done for Indomie and for so many other businesses. How do you, as a business, do such? Like, how do you land clients like that? How do you build premium services that is appealing to big organizations like that?
Oh yeah, I think it's still, in a way, it's very connected with the last question, because what works for an individual, is likely going to be the same model that you can extrapolate on for a larger organization. So for the organization in terms of Orange VFX, one thing we've naturally done is position ourselves as a service enterprise. So we are known to be the house, the last bus stop, as you say, when it comes to enterprise products, TVCs, adverts, whatever. So people know us for that purpose first, and we've positioned ourselves to be the key player in that sector particularly. So if you talk about like let's say shorts and other things, there are other organizations more or less trying to stand out for that purpose mainly. But yeah, so I think it's pretty much one of the biggest reasons why we're able to like land these clients who trust us that okay, these people can do a project for, let's say, this bank, so why can't they do a project for us as a bigger bank? Or these people can do a project for this FMGC, why can't they do a project for us as a bigger FMGC? Let's trust them. Because we've positioned ourselves in that space. But at the start, it wasn't so. At the start, it was more or less a very spread yourself thin approach that we took. So we tested a lot of things. It was more like testing the market, seeing who responds better, seeing what responds better, seeing how well our offering was received, feedback, and then understanding how to like tailor the service to the most business profit friendly solution that we were providing. So once we found those things out, then we just kept on filtering down. So I think in a way it's very useful. It's a very useful approach to kind of find out what is your one thing and then stick around that one thing, because eventually it helps build every other thing around you. But if you're like doing everything and you're like, oh no, I'm into like short film. I'm going to fight hard for this short film, and you're the best short film studio in the world or in the country or in this place, or you position yourself in that light. Then tomorrow you're back into like TVC or like into service work. It's I don't know. I think it's going to. I'm not going to remember you as much as I'll remember somebody who just does one of these things. So because I will look at you like, oh, he's a generalist, but it's possible too to find your way as a generalist. There's probably like a niche market for you, even in the wider markets and in media markets in Nigeria or in Africa or wherever you are globally. But yeah, I think that's one of the things we've done as Orange VFX is to position ourselves in such a way that the market sees us as a specialized content delivery house in the area of business communications and yeah, brand communications within the Nigerian and African space.
Great, great. So let's now talk about Orange VFX in terms of the amazing work you do in trading and mentorship. Why is that a core part of the vision of VFX? Why isn't just, oh, let's just poach clients and big businesses and make money and make money? Why is there a focus on training and mentoring beginners?
Yeah, I would say training is very critical part of the organization, the business, mainly because it's how we find the talents that we work with primarily. So over the years, we've noticed that most people are not mentored, most people are not trained properly in their individual artistic journeys, and then integrating them into like a group setting for production work is usually difficult. Uh, Having those kind of like interactions both internally within the group and then externally with a client, if it's in the case of a client work. So we wanted to like build a team that is strong and a team that understands production environment. So that's the reason why it was necessary to kind of start the training school so that we can train but also expose the students to production training, production friendly environment that they can learn from what production is like. They can learn from not they can't learn everything in the short time that they train, but at least in those few months or a year, or sometimes few people too, more than a year that they train with us, they kind of understand that culture, production culture in the animation space to the best of our ability, and then they can make. We feel like it helps them. We prompt them just a little bit more to make the decision, but a better decision when it comes to their artistic career. Yeah, so yeah, that's it.
That's that's very interesting. What I'm going to ask you now about how the rise of AI, right, and how technology is rapidly changing, right? A lot of things in animation is clearly changing. Some things that would take weeks, would take hours, are now done in minutes because of generative AI that we have now.
Yeah,
What would you advise young animators to focus on, regardless of, would you advise that, yes, AI is the future and you should be on that boat, but your creativity is also important. How do you merge both? How do you stay creative? How do you manage the emerging trends and the new AI that might not be the best for your creative process, but might be quicker and faster to churn out and produce things?
I would say as much as AI is very ubiquitous, I would advise every artist or everybody pursuing anything in digital arts, animation related, to learn basic foundation arts, traditional arts, if possible. So if I say foundation arts, that could be referring to everything digital, like basic trainings and all of that. But I mentioned traditional arts, primarily like things like sculpture, things like claymation, things like stop motion, or things like line drawing, hand drawn animation, and all these kind of things. Because there's before you kind of deliver an artistic project, you have to be an artist at heart. Like your heart has to have a database of information. Just the same way AI has to deliver based on a database that it's stored in its heart, if I could say. You too also as an artist have to have that. So if you want to collaborate with another artist and you are not an artist per se, then you are more like an investor who is talking to a studio that wants to work on an animation project with this AI. So there will be very little soul per se in the work because AI is more a robotic factory like animation deliverer than a human being. So I think there will always be this need for a symbiotic relationship at the end of the day with digital tools and the human resource or human intervention to create art that has soul that we can connect with. Otherwise, eventually, we will just end up with projects and films or teasers or whatever that don't really that mean less to people. It will mean more for the digital world, for AIs, for future computer, thinking and all those kind of things. But it will mean less for human beings as like us. What that content is for, because we look at it like, oh yeah, this is another AI. Everything is AI. It doesn't matter anymore. So Yeah, I just try to answer as best as I can.
Absolutely, I absolutely agree with you. I think I very much agree with the things that you have said. Speaking to the soul of whatever it is that we're doing, that's something that no matter the year, no matter how good it is, we should still never have that humanistic soul and touch towards the work that we do. So I absolutely agree with you. Finally, I would ask for the artist out there who is self-taught, who is overwhelmed, maybe they're even doubting their journey. What's one piece of advice that you would leave them? Something that they can hold on to after this conversation as regards their career.
Okay, so the thing is, the internet is always breaking every time. But I think the question you asked is, what advice do I have to
Oh, okay, sorry.
their career, right? What's the one advice? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
what's the one advice you give someone who is self-taught?
yeah, that's a very, very, very important question. If I could say one thing to an animator out there or somebody who is looking into the animation field in consideration, is that why do you want to do it? I think if you find out the why, then you can drive your decisions best around that why, and you can accomplish that goal. But I would say always find out the why you want to do it. In my case, I'm doing animation because I want to address social issues. I want to inspire young people, and then I want to also effect change locally in my country. And it's clear that animation is, for me, the best medium to do that right now. So that's why, for me, I want to inspire, I want to transform, and I want to change positively. So for some other people, it might just be they want to focus on training something. They really just want to train people. It could be that they want to partner, do more partnerships, collaborative partnerships and productions. But find out your why and never stop thinking about that why. Refine the why and ensure that it's updated every year, just the way you reflect every January about like, oh, what are my New Year goals, New Year careers. Always refine that why, and don't always hold the why so strict that you believe it has to be just this exact line. You can refine it, you can change it, but it would always carry the thread, this the single red line thread that connects everything together at the end of the day for you. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
That was a really really good answer, and I'm also going to make sure that there's always purpose to the work that I'm doing. I'm consciously reminding myself of the why I'm doing this. Thank you very much for joining us today and speaking to us. I've learned so much from you in this 20 to 30 minutes. Thank you very very much. We wish you all the best in your future endeavor. We hope to see your short film very soon, and I trust that it will make good rounds. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Afolabi. It was nice having a chat with you. And yeah, I wish you the best of luck with the
Thank
work you're doing.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining us today. We hope to see you again in our next show.